why it's so much easier to cut as a vegan compared to a meat-based diet. I've been vegan for 6 years now, but before that I used to eat absolutely everything, all kinds of meats, all kinds of foods. And then I went vegan 6 years ago for ethical reasons. And one of the biggest changes that I've noticed since going vegan is how easy it is to cut and maintain my physique on a plant-based diet. Now, to cut, pretty simple. You need to be burning more calories than you are consuming. And as long as you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. So that is the basis of cutting. So let's start off with that. Before I went vegan, when I was trying to cut on a meat-based diet, I struggled a lot because I was eating good food. I was, like marinating my chicken breast. I was trying to make it exciting. I was trying to make it healthy, but I still struggled a lot. My whole calories, my whole day revolved around meat and trying to get in protein, as much protein as I could. And what ended up happening is I wasn't getting enough micronutrients. I wasn't getting enough of the other things that I actually needed. But when I went vegan, I was introduced to a lot more foods. I started cooking more. I started learning about what kind of foods that are vegan. And I became so much more explorative in the kinds of foods that I was eating, the kinds of meals that I was making. There are so many more plants. There are so many vegetables. There's so many things that you can eat from a vegan diet that you're just not open to on a meat-based diet. I know this isn't for everyone, but for me personally, when I was eating meat, it was so boring because all of my day, everything that I ate revolved around protein. But I still track my protein, but it isn't the most important thing for me. The most important thing for me, now that I'm focused on, is eating from as many different types of foods as I can in a day. And as long as I'm doing that, I know that I am hitting my complete amino acids, all the amino acids that I need for the day. I'm hitting all my protein goals. I know that I was so hungry, even though I was eating, I was eating maybe like 2,000, 2,100 calories on a meat-based diet. I don't know why, but I felt so hungry because the foods that I was eating, people say that eating protein keeps you full, and that is true to an extent. But for me personally, I love my carbs, and carbs keeps me full. Carbs keeps me happy. So what I did when I went vegan is I went from eating a high protein, moderate carb, moderate fat diet to a low fat, high protein, high carb diet. And I know that all my lifting life, I've been told carbs, you need to keep your carbs in check, to an extent that I even did keto diet for like a year, and I hated myself. Carbs was always, not now, I know things have changed now, but when I was first started lifting years ago, carbs is always looked at as the enemy, as a bad guy. You need to control your carbs. You need to, minimize your carbs. If you want to lose weight, you need to keep your carbs low. What I realized after going vegan is that's complete bullshit. Carbs has saved my soul. And what ended up happening after I switched to a high carb, high protein diet, because a lot of the whole foods, plant-based foods are high carb in nature. Things like lentils, things like chickpeas. And a lot of people say, oh, just because they have carbs, they're not a protein source. And that is the stupidest thing that I hear. That is the stupidest thing that I see on social media is when people say foods like dal, foods like lentils or chickpeas or any kind of legumes or beans are not a protein source because they have more carbs. And that pisses me off because for me, they are a superior protein source because of the carbs. So what's going to happen when you switch to a high carb, high protein diet is, number one, which is the most important thing, you're going to feel so much better. You're going to have so much more energy. When people say that when you go vegan, you have a lot more energy, that is essentially because of the micronutrients and all the carbs you end up getting from your foods. So you're going to feel so much better. You're not going to feel, even if you're dieting, you're not going to feel like you're dieting. Plant-based foods in general, especially whole foods, in nature are nutrient dense, which means you can eat a lot of them and still be eating less calories. This is why it's so much easier to cut on a plant-based diet, because when I'm dieting, when I'm cutting, it doesn't even feel like I'm cutting because sometimes I have to eat so much food that I ask myself, am I really in a caloric deficit? Am I really eating 2,300 calories? Because it feels like I'm eating way more. Like when I make a big lentil soup, that's so filling. It fills me up for the whole day. And then it's only like 300, 400 calories. Or when I'm eating like roasted chickpeas and it tastes so nice and I realize I'm only eating like 100 or 150 calories. So whole foods, plant-based, you can eat so much more food and be eating such little calories compared to animal-based foods. If you go gram by gram per 100 grams, plant-based foods will keep you fuller for longer because of the fiber as well. Whole foods plant-based have so much more fiber compared to animal-based foods. So you're gonna feel better. You're gonna feel fuller for longer. And the most important thing, you're gonna have the best workouts. You're gonna have the best pumps. You're gonna have the most energy in the gym. Ever since I went vegan, ever since I switched to a high carb, high protein diet, my energy has skyrocketed. I feel amazing in the gym. I feel so strong. Like just yesterday, I was dumbbell curling 25 kilos. I've never done that with ease. I'm getting stronger. I'm getting bigger. I'm getting leaner because of high carb, high protein diet. And this is something that I wish I could tell myself when I first started lifting, not to be scared of carbs. Carbs is your best friend in this journey. Carbs and fiber are your best friend. It's not protein. I know this may seem controversial, but it's not protein. Protein, my reliance on protein has gone down in the sense that constantly obsessing over protein. Now I'm just making sure I'm eating as much protein as I can, but I'm not obsessing over, like, my whole day doesn't revolve around protein. My whole day revolves around, eating foods that I like, eating foods that I enjoy, and just making sure that every meal that I eat has some sort of protein in it. 1.6 grams per body weight is all you need. And for me, I'm like 90 kilos and I'm trying to hit 140 grams, 130, 140 grams of protein, which is nothing compared to the 200, 250 grams of protein that I was trying to hit when I was eating meat. If you stick to it, if you stick to your calories, if you stick to the whole foods plant-based diet, if you're sticking to your protein, if you're sticking to your calories, if you're eating from a wide variety of plant-based sources, you're not going to feel like you're dieting. And day by day, you are going to lose weight. You're going to feel so much better. You're going to have so much more energy, and you're going to enjoy your workouts way more than you ever have because of the carbs. I can eat so much food while still being in a calorie deficit, while still feeling full, while still having so much more energy. And that's why going vegan is the best thing you can do to cut, to build a better physique. That's what I do. That's what I get all my clients to do because it's just easier. Even if you ignore the ethical side of going vegan, going plant-based is the best thing you can do, not just for your health, but to build a better physique.